Down in Duuuval. The acquisition of Calvin Ridley midseason last year for a fourth, a fifth, a seventh, a second. I don't even know what was a part of it, but these picks are so stupidly spaced out. I can't believe it. After what looks like all hope was lost on another just Jacksonville-esque season, Jacksonville pulls it together. They get a primetime game, Saturday night primetime game against the Titans to see who will win the division against Josh Dobbs and the Tennessee Titans. Jaguars do it. They have one of the most historic comebacks in the playoff history against Asante Samuel and the Los Angeles Chargers. And let's not forget, too, this team was fought with Kansas City down to the very end in Kansas City, nonetheless. Maybe we could have seen them be an AFC championship game team. I don't know, but there's a lot of hope now down in Jacksonville. And I'll let you control it, Dom. Let's also state this too. Jacksonville has a $120 million new facility, and they have hydration systems in their urinals, as Scott Hansen points out. And it'll tell you if you're hydrated, need hydration, or you're super dehydrated. Very weird stuff. It gives you, it's a traffic light system, green, yellow, and red.
Did Chip Kelly suddenly go down and build their facility?
Let's look at the offense here. I mean, I know we all said last year Christian Kirk signing that 4-year, $72 million has the upright to go to $84 million was the worst signing. I don't know what Doug Peterson and company was smoking, but they knew something that none of us knew. And that was a pretty incredible feat. But yeah, Calvin Ridley, triple zeros there. Zay Jones, he came in from Las Vegas last year. Very youthful receiving core. And Calvin Ridley's still on his rookie deal, too. And he's 29 years old, I think.
Calvin Ridley is the X factor here that, is we can call that an addition to this team this year. Because
it depends how much rust is on him. Because by the time week 1 comes around, it'll be a little over 700 days because he hasn't played since the 2021 season where
he's also looked phenomenal in camp. Phenomenal.
Ready for this one? I'll let the make you faint. I might put a bet in because last time I saw the over-under for his season yards, it was only it
was bad.
800.
Yeah, I think he can do much better than that. I think I did bet on that, didn't I?
I think I told you to.
Yeah, I think we were looking at
I couldn't remember which ones you actually did or not.
Yeah, it was a lot. But no, I think Calvin Ridley, I think it's a huge addition. I think he's going to be good. He has looked nothing less than really spectacular in camp. I've seen 4 videos of him roasting people and just looking good, catching the ball. Routes look crisp. And that's what was good at in Atlanta when he did play and he had a good season and whatnot. But I think, that's going to be the tail of the tape for the Jags.
Him and Trevor Lawrence just seems unfair.
I think Calvin Ridley, if he can be Calvin Ridley that we knew and what it's looking like so far, I think that can be a step for them and elevate them from a 9-8 record they had last year to a double-digit, third in the AFC kind of team. I really do think that could elevate them.
And look into it, the offensive line. They don't have Cam Robinson for, I believe, the first 4 games. He's not listed on the depth chart here. So they drafted Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma.
Well, suspended.
The suspension. So Walker Littlefield's in at left tackle. Tight end 2, they pay Evan Ingram. I think 3 years, $40 million.
Great season.
Him his bag. They draft Tank Bigsby, who I think will split with ETN. So it's going to be very, very split going down in Jacksonville there in the backfield.
I think ETN will look pretty good this season too.
Here's the problem. I like so much about this team, but I did watch quite a few Jags games last year. Don't ask me why, but a lot of the stuff that got Doug fired from the Eagles, he did last year, even last year. Like just calling plays that don't make sense for the personnel you have. Like he just run now. He got crucified for not running the ball enough in Philadelphia. So now he just runs random, right up the middle runs, or zone runs for no reason other than just say, keep the balance. He's instead of what the two guys he has, what they're good at, outside zone runs like Derrick Henry, read from the outside in. And he just runs it for the sake of running it and hope it works. And that's what's kind of the problem with Doug at the end. He just does things for the sake of doing them without really a plan of how it's going to work.
It's an interesting thought or interesting realization or observation, I guess. I mean, I think wasn't there a quote about ETN from Peterson or something from this offseason where like they're going to use him more, he's going to be big or something. I felt like I saw something from someone and it kind of changed my mind about, okay, maybe if they use him in more utility stuff and like they do some more dynamic stuff with him, I think could elevate the team as well. I think that this team easily gets better from the 9-8 record they had last year from this offense alone.
I mean, look at basically what I can drive that point home and then move on is look at Miles Sanders under Doug Peterson, where it's like barely gets used, random runs, and he's always leading the league in yards per touch.
Yeah.
And then gets a real actual workload with Steichen and looks like a guy and gets paid for it.
It's fair.
Let's move to the defensive side of the ball where they have made a couple not really like big acquisitions, but highlighting last year they had Devin Lloyd, they had Trayvon Walker, they drafted last year. Josh Allen's there now for year number 5. The secondary though, Darius Williams, Trey Herndon, Rayshon Jenkins, they might not be like, oh hey, these are big name guys, but
love this defense. At least the starters. Love it.
They got a nice mix of, well, I was gonna say old and young. They're all young. They're all like 7 years or less in the league. I'm not sure if this defense will be improved. Like, oh hey, we're gonna see like a drastic difference, but I think they could probably stay the same. I think there's a good chance they can.
Yeah, I also think this is with like year 2 Trayvon Walker. I think across from him, it's like Josh Allen's coming out here, his real coming out here.
I mean, Josh Allen's been good. I like him. I mean, he's been a great addition to this team. He's like a cornerstone of this defense.
Yeah, he's always had like good years, but I think like the big year that everyone's been expecting since he got drafted
could be this year.
Yeah, and also too, like they haven't had a very good track record of linebackers being like besides like Paul Plesney, who was there for an anchor like decade.
Are you talking about guys stuck for a while, or because?
Yeah, like they really haven't had that like linebacker guy because they had Miles Jack they traded away. They had that. I'm drawing a blank of who the other I was gonna say Joe Schober. I was gonna say Joe Schober, but he was with Cleveland for a little bit before he went to Jacksonville.
There's one more with Miles Jack.
I really like Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma though. Like I really like those players.
Hey, Devin Lloyd's gonna be he's gonna be doing a lot of stuff.
I like
and Olukun too from Atlanta as well.
I mean, I really don't mind this team. I do think
but they did follow what they did in 2017 where they just pumped money. They were just signing people left and right. They make the playoff run, but then we saw the next year where they started out good and then they crashed and burned by like week 8.
I am interested to see the schedule though, because they're going to have a tougher schedule now, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big part of this.
I think I even read somewhere that like the Titans had like a bottom 5 schedule or something, like strength wise.
Well, yeah, the AFC's stronger, but most of those teams are all in that same range and just pick each other off.
I don't know. This doesn't look too bad.
They do have their first NBC game, if the schedule stays the way it is, since 2007.
Wow.
Jeez.
They have had a very long time, like the Jets. They have not had a primetime game, well, NBC game. Yes, we've seen them on Monday Night Football, and that's when you just didn't want to watch because who cares about Chad Henne and company? But yeah, looking at it here, I mean, they got the tough Kansas City week 2. That's going to be tough. Back-to-back London games. That's a very interesting thing to see.
I don't think this is that tough of a schedule. If I'm
It's
gonna
not
be
that
honest.
tough. But I didn't count that many more wins than I did. I counted 8 or 9 for the Titans. I just counted 10 for the Jags.
And that's with them not competing with. For me, that's with them not competing with like Bills, with like Cincinnati, San Fran, Baltimore, and that's a late Baltimore if Lamar's out. Just saying. I mean, like, I think that 10 wins is almost.
I have 10 wins as well.
I think even with Lamar, they beat him.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Also, Will, when you want me to, I have the name that you're looking for.
Yes. Give me the name.
So the 3 linebackers were Miles Jack, Paul Pleslesny, and Telvin Smith.
Telvin
Smith.
Well, you abused him in Madden. How could you forget that?
I was thinking of a different like middle linebacker though. That's
Telvin
what
Smith, guy.
I mean, he's now in jail, but
Yeah.
you could look that up on your own time while he's in jail. I'm not going to be the one that brings it up.
I'm not Googling that one.
Not Googling that one today. But I think 10 wins for the Jaguars. Yeah.
Them against the NFC South is nice. That's nice.
I mean, it sucks too. They got to go to New Orleans. That's going to be a very difficult game.
Might be, might not be. I mean,
but when I count games I can kind of clearly see. Like,
yeah, I think 10 wins is like a floor for them, to be honest.
I think they can honestly make rumblings. I mean, as long as they don't crash and burn.
Yeah, I really think they could be pretty huge. I think this is as long as Trevor Lawrence can still take a step forward.
Yep.
So
he can grow his game.
And Calvin Ridley might be a big part of that. There's a lot to this. ETN might be a part of that. I mean, there's a lot to this offense that has so many doors wide open. And they're just like, there's a lot more potential to be had on this offense. It's such a young squad that's been together. Really, last year was the first year that this squad was honestly like solidly together. I don't really count that first year for Lawrence because that was what Urban Meyer, and he was kicking players, and it was like
the name that we shouldn't discuss.
Yeah,
on the field, you call me a rookie head coach again.
It was
the bad man.
But sir, this is your first year in the NFL. You're a rookie.
This team really, really started over last year and put it all together for the first time last year. That's really the first year this squad was together. And I mean, it's like literally the sky's the limit too for this team. Like we've talked about for some other team. There's a lot that this team could do to elevate their play, their game, their record, everything. They could sweep the whole division, to be honest. Did they sweep it last year? I didn't look at the record.
They went 4-2.
They could sweep it.
They started pretty bad last year.
Yeah, they were like 3-7.
Yeah.
They got destroyed by Detroit, and that's when it just like switched.